So, I know we always make fun of the guards having a low perception in D&D, but like, come on, how did you miss this? This is a little ridiculous. Hello folks, Phil Gallagher, aka ThrabenU here for another Legacy video, and today we are going to be playing Mono Red Sneak Attack with a little bit of a twist. So, for a period of, I don't know, maybe 2 weeks or a month, somewhere on the order of 7 years ago, Mono Red Sneak Attack was actually a competitive deck list in Legacy that put up multiple top 8 results from in like opens and classics from a bunch of the crew in Roanoke. The deck seeks to get to 5 mana as quickly as possible, often utilizing ritual spells such as Seething Song to do so, and then it's going to use either Through the Breach or Sneak Attack to put in one or more, in the case of Sneak Attack, large creatures to try to instantly end the game or otherwise make enough of a dent in your opponent's life total and board state that they're not going to come back from that. Think Emrakul sized creatures here. But then this deck fell off the face of the earth for a long time. It just wasn't as consistent as other combo decks in the format. Well, we're going to revisit it today because Palentir of Orthanc has been doing a decent amount of work in Commander and Legacy as well as a source of card advantage and damage. And guess what? If your opponent, or sorry, if you rather have a bunch of random cards in your deck that are Emrakul sized, accidentally doming your opponent for 15 might just end the game. Why don't we take a look at the full deck list now? I guess before I get going here, I spent this weekend at Atlanta playing in one of Eminence Gaming's CEDH events at Charlie's Collectibles show, and I absolutely enjoyed the hell out of it. By the time this video goes live, there should be a tournament report / kind of Tivit guide up on Eminence Gaming, so please consider checking that out if you are interested in kind of the EDH side / CEDH side of my content. Alright, so here's the whole deck in its entirety. And there's some interesting decisions being made here. Number one, we're going for main deck defense grid. The metagame is pretty blue right now, with a lot of like blue Orcish Bowmasters decks running around. So defense grid is a game one concession to the fact that like you are playing expensive win conditions. But this comes at the cost of playing, say, Chalice of the Void, Trinisphere, Blood Moon in the main deck, which this deck isn't trying to do. This deck is trying to win. This is not a prison deck. This is a combo deck. And I know a lot of times, like, you see those ancient tombs and you're thinking lock pieces, but like, that's not today's video. This is a combo deck first and foremost. Will donated to see this video, or rather see this deck for a video on my channel, and I've changed very little in the main deck from their original build. They submitted with 16 lands, and I wasn't super comfortable on 16 lands without something like Chrome Mox in the deck as another permanent mana source. The idea is that Oliphant kind of helps out with that, but we are trying to get to 4 and 5 mana, and I just wanted that little security blanket of one more land so that I would be comfortable that I would get to consistently cast my spells. So I think I moved a Fury to the sideboard for an extra mountain, and I redid the sideboard a bit. The original version had no graveyard hate, or I think it was maybe 2 surgicals, and I just wasn't comfortable with that amount. And we're gonna play Fairy for a very niche interaction here. Like, remember that this is a creature. This is technically something that I can sneak attack into play. On the off chance that like Palentir has almost killed my opponent. I think that means this is supposed to be my graveyard hate of choice. And this will dodge some of the Serenity type stuff, but it will still get got by discard. And otherwise, The other thing I wanted to do in adapting this deck list was make sure that I had 4 cards for fair matchups in the case that I don't need defense grid. And that's why I'm playing Fury, Fable, Abrade. I just want some nice fair stuff that I can board in because most of the rest of this stuff is narrow. And to fit in some of this fair stuff, I believe I removed 2 Dismember, 2 Pyroblast from the original board that was submitted. While Pyroblast as a counterspell is pretty cool, I think it's going to be tough for us to probably get to 6 mana to do something like Through the Breach with a Pyroblast backup. So I switched some Trinispheres in, and then against a blue deck, we can have 4 Defense Grid and 2 Trinisphere as our way to defend our own combo. So yeah, with that being said, why don't we go ahead and hop into the matches here. If you like what you see today and you want to pick up some cards, check out Cool Stuff Inc. and use promo code ThrabenU to save 5% on your order. I definitely didn't submit an order to Cool Stuff Inc. where I forgot to use my own promo code. That definitely didn't happen. Don't talk about it. Okay, so I am playing against a Goblins expert who is almost certainly playing Bombardier. The new goblin that lets you essentially Goblin Grenade. So I don't think my double Fable hand is going to beat my opponent's speed of deck. So I'm going to try to mulligan for a sneak attack hand, which will probably beat my opponent. I would have kept this in the dark until I saw who my opponent was. God, that's a weird hand. How good is turn 1 Palentir? I like this better than the last hand. Text on Magic Online feels weird. Rather than go to 5, I think I'm going to keep this one and pitch City of Traders. Yeah, things are definitely different. New Ancient Tomb. Sure. All right, let's Palantir. I'm going to bottom that mountain, top that Through the Breach, and see if my opponent wants to draw it or have me take some damage. They took the damage. Yeah, I would have had turn 2 Atraxa if not for that. All right. How bad is it? All right, there is a Goblin Matron. Potentially getting a sticker Goblin here. Yep, a name sticker Goblin. Okay. Is there any world where I am casting Simian Spirit Guide? I don't think so. What land I play is kind of interesting because of Through the Breach specifically. I'm going to opt to play this one still, though. We will bottom both of those. Those are not what I am looking for. Another Through the Breach. Opponent's at 8. See how crazy this turn gets. I'm F6'd. 5 mana. Oh god. Opponent's at 4. Alright, there it is. Broadside Bombardiers. And Battlecry Goblin, giving everything haste. Oh, am I dead? Like, does this just deal 18 to me? That's 6. And then my opponent can just hurl a thing at my face, putting me to 1. Ancient Tomb is off. I am probably dead. We'll do it like that. My opponent lets me draw the Emrakul, unfortunately. And I am dead to combat damage. We knew that was going to go quick. I think the Palantir keep was fine. So we're going to do exactly what we talked about and bring in the 4 fair cards for the 4 defense grids. I don't think we want to try to mind break trap my opponent's nonsense. This can be turn 2 Palantir, turn 3 Breach, or turn 2 Breach, play Atraxa, attack, and then try to do something again the following turn. I think this is a keep. I plan on recording with this deck, by the way. The Bombardiers look really effing good. Sure. What is that? Ringleader under there? Sure. So it's Matron for Muxus this time. So let's Atraxa. Seething Song, Through the Breach. Atraxa. Oh no, we did not hit another way to put a creature into play by looking at 10 cards. So I am going to go... I don't need another Palentir. I don't need another large creature. I might take one anyway. Let's go... Oh god, why? Let's go instant artifact creature land. Done. Go to combat. Opponent gets hit for 7. I gain 7. We'll now go Lotus Petal. Let's destroy target artifact on that Chrome Mox. See if that helps slow my opponent down. Sacrifice Atraxa, and then try to use Palentir to find a way to put this other Atraxa into play. Unfortunately, they did have another red source. This hopefully keeps them off of Muxus, though. War Chief, Battlecry Goblin. It definitely saved me some damage, but ow. Okay, Fury's not bad. Oh, I don't have a red card. That's not great. Okay, that's incredibly awkward here. My mono red deck doesn't have a red card. I think I leave the Emrakul on top and hope to kill my opponent with the trigger. How good is Sneak Attack? How much damage is on board? 2, 4, 6, 7, 8. I am probably on a 2-turn clock. Sneak Attack's good if I draw extra mana. I'm gonna go top. Let's see if Eli's dead. Whew. Good lord, this matchup is fast. Fury's cool. I don't have a fatty, and I don't have 3 mana. I think a 6 is better than this. Ooh, no. No. This is 5. I have 3 mana of the 4 mana required to play Sneak Attack. So I can keep 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Or I can play turn 1 Fable and try to loot to some other stuff. I think keeping this has a higher chance of me actually winning the game than me trying to keep a defensive Fury hand. But I'm not sure that I'm right. Alright, what are we doing? Name Sticker Goblin on 1. 5 mana. War Chief. Battlecry Goblin. Spirit Guide. Fuck, I'm getting attacked for 9 on turn 1. Oh, sorry, 10 on turn 1. Yeah, 2, 4, 6, 7, 8 incoming. I have very, very few outs here. I need the perfects. I do have some lines that lead to my opponent being dead next turn. Alright, there's Shatter Skull. Probably just activate that. So 3, 6, 9, 10, 11. More than dead. Yeah, literally died on turn 2. Today's video is sponsored by Moxfield.com, and I personally keep all of my deck lists for every format on this site. I love that I can go and sort them by types and tags if I need to. There's a lot of different viewing options. It can give you some math about your mana symbol, your curve, and you can even playtest and do sample opening hands with it. Check this site out if you haven't before. It's awesome. Okay, I can go City of Traders Defense Grid on 1, Sneak Attack on 2, but then the only thing that I have to put in is Fury. I think with double Defense Grid here, I just mulligan this one and try to find something more stable, is the end of that sentence. My opponent tanked for a long time and then mulliganed. I will obviously do the same here. Okay. 1, 2, 3. Probably keep the Sneak Attack. 4, 5. We're a little short of going somewhere, but it is not worth going deeper than this. Let's hope the top of the deck spits out a soul land. I'll take any mana source, but a soul land would be particularly good. Sure. That is not a mana source. We're chilling. There's an end of turn fetch for a basic. What are we on here? The blue fetch land's a little weird here. Sure. Oh, I've got a guess now. I no longer have a guess. Oh, rhinos? Probably rhinos. That is the Cascade deck list. So my opponent probably has a very good turn this turn with like Shardless Agent into rhinos producing a large amount of power. Nope. Okay, there's the third mana. How do I play this? I think I do end of my opponent's turn Seething Song into Through the Breach Emrakul. I think that's my plan. And that gives me a decent chance to potentially try again on my own turn afterwards. Sure, there's the red. No fear. Through the Breach. There's an Emrakul. And my opponent has conceded. They kept a 6-card hand and cast no relevant spell that entire game? Assuming they are the Rhinos deck? That doesn't make any sense to me. The London Mulligan is the strongest thing that exists in Magic the Gathering. Use it. The Trinisphere seems reasonable. Seems reasonable to me. Yuri seems reasonable to me. Another Fable of the Mirrorbreaker is potentially playable. What don't I like? I don't know that I actually like the Furies. Like, assuming I hardcast one, I have somehow gotten to 5 mana, and my best thing to do with that is remove 1 Rhino. It doesn't feel right to me. Let's take out the Furies for some Trinispheres. And let's maybe play a Fable of the Mirrorbreaker over one of these 6/4s. This does not have enough starting mana. Someone gets a no sir from me. This secondary hand is reasonable. I think I'm going to keep it and put back the second Atraxa. We're looking to play Fable into Through the Breach. Fable now? Let's Fable now. I have 4 mana next turn anyway with this as it stands, assuming this resolves. And, okay, what is this? Fuck that. I don't like that. Okay. Understood. Sure. I don't know that I agree with my opponent just fetching these basics with the timing that they are. I don't know their hand, so I can't tell for sure, but it feels really weird. Incredibly weird. Seething Song? Seething Song's hot. Trinisphere's hot. You double. Are you going to use one of those to just ice my land? Okay. That's fine. I literally did not have a play for this turn using my mana. Sure. Okay. Second verse, same as the first. That's fine. That did deny a Trinisphere cast. That was a real spell this time. Okay, there is what I am assuming is a Rhino attempt. Sure. Is it Inevitable Trail? It is Rhinos. Rhinos are beatable. Like, this is fine. There is that 5th mana. I think I am just going to attempt to win the game rather than like trying to play safe by playing a Trinisphere first. So let's put an Atraxa in, and we're going to just seek to find another creature for next turn. This is great. So Emrakul is my creature. Lotus Petal is my artifact. I don't need the extra mana. Sneak Attack is my enchantment. I'll take a second Through the Breach here. Go 4 cards. I'll play out a Lotus Petal. We'll do a 14-point life swing here. Bring my opponent to 11. And we'll lose Atraxa end of turn. I'll take 10 in combat, going to 13. Even with Ancient Tomb damage, I'm not dead on board for next turn. Through the Breach is an instant. Cast Through the Breach. Put an Emrakul into play. You may tap my Ancient Tomb. I don't feel like this game should have been this easy. I think if my opponent whacked the mulligan button a couple more times, this would have been an uphill battle for me. my opponent's deck, I think, is just faster than mine. But they kept this, like, reactive hand with Force of Negation and a couple copies of Fire Ice, when I think they should have just been mulliganing for their own win. So my starting hand here just like doesn't quite work. I have 3 mana. I don't have anything impressive to do. I don't have both sides of the combo, so it's not like I'm just waiting for mana. We're going to go fishing a little bit. This feels like a keep. I feel like I keep this one and pitch the Fury. We're going to go a little slowly with this hand, in that we're not just going to play City of Traders on turn 1 into defense grid. But the... We're just not going to finish that sentence. I'll grab a mountain. What did this pitch? Fatal Push, sure. So if I lose one thing, I lose Sneak Attack. If I lose 2 things, I also lose Emrakul. No, we're probably playing against Black-Red Reanimator rather than a blue-black scam deck. Get in here, Fairy Macabre. Oh, they're going for my 6/4. Sure. I did not feel like that was better than Grief, but we'll see if my opponent's right. Oh. Sure. That caught me off guard. So my opponent's Grixis scam? Okay, sure. Having the counterspell the previous turn makes their other play make more sense. I am not in good shape here, because this thing does have another ability. So I am getting hit for 11 here, meaning that I am probably dead. And I don't have the best idea of what my opponent is doing. I am going to concede. It's a basic island specifically, which is weird, and the basic island wouldn't necessarily be an indicator of like a show and tell splash that would usually be an underground sea. So it might be some sort of weird Grixis control style deck. Fury probably goes out here, despite the fact that it can mess with some sideboard options my opponent has. And I think we're off Fables. This is 4, 5, go down one of these, 6. I think I still want the fairies. The hand's a keep. I think I play City Defense Grid on 1 rather than going for my own combo thing. My opponent's somewhat likely to have a Force of Will effect on the draw here. And I think I'm probably going Palentir next turn rather than Emrakul. We'll see though. Basic Island. Yeah, I think I like Palentir here. That just doesn't require me. This is decent damage if my opponent chooses the damage option. I don't really want these cards, so I think I am just going to bottom, and we'll see what happens. Opponent takes 5 still. Emrakul is lethal now, for sure. I can go for a kill on my opponent, or I can just do end of their turn through the breach, and then attempt to do something else on my turn, which I think I like better. We'd like to find an Emrakul to put on top here. Sure, that's fine. Yep. How do I feel about Lotus Petal and Sneak Attack? Not really in love with drawing those. Another Seething Song. That's fine. That makes it easier for me to try again. Sure. I'm at 15 from that. Now we'll go ahead and attempt to do something cool. Seething Song through the breach. Hydroblast. Rough. Any red source? Thank you. 2, 1. Seething Song. What the fuck am I doing? I don't have another enabler. Okay. Major punt there. Let's bottom that, top this. I super just messed up. Welcome to things you do while you are talking about your lines that you would never, ever, ever do in a normal game of Magic. My position is very bad in this game, generally speaking, even if I have that extra ritual in my hand. Like, I am under a good clock, and my opponent is sitting back on resources. We'll see if I can get myself out of it. Mystic Sanctuary on, I presume, Hydroblast? Yep. Seems good. Bottom that. Top that. I think I'm dead for my mistake earlier. Like, I can attempt another win attempt next turn, but that Hydroblast just beats me. Yeah. Alright. Let's try again. Oh, not try again. We're dead. GG's. Okay. This is an interesting hand. If I'm willing to play patiently and not mulligan for just doing the thing immediately, this hand is probably going to end up being pretty safe. The real question is whether or not I City of Traders defense grid on turn 1, or whether or not I just go mountain. All right. Grief pitching Snuff out. This one is more likely Scam. Or a Shadow, rather. Could be either. I have lost Fury. Okay, it is Shadow. Are we reanimating? We are reanimating. This choice is a little weirder. And I don't have the context of their hand to know what they should take. From my seat, I think Palentir is the best card in my hand. And they agree. I think we're chilling here. I don't think I'm going to turbo out Defense Grid. Because I think it's pretty likely that I'm going to need my lands to try multiple times. Womp. A Troll. I'm unsure if Troll is better than Fury in this spot. I don't know that it matters much. I need to present a win attempt on my next turn, which I don't think I can do. Sure. I can now present a win attempt on my turn in a way that I couldn't a second ago. But we whiff and die. Thus is the power of the Scam Shell. So, do I want to play Fairy? Like, not really. Not really. Fury doesn't line up the best versus some of the things that my opponent can put into play. I think I'm going to cut that. I kind of want to cut this, but I might just need the raw mana. I think my opponent ends up going under me a lot of the time if I don't board in Fairy. Maybe I have to just not give my opponent the extra reanimation targets, have some redundancy versus what they're doing, and then bring in Fable to help replace some of the mana that is lost by boarding these out. I can also consider Trinisphere when I'm on the play. Or, when I'm on the play, I can just play 2 fairies. And then when I'm on the draw, I play the full 4. I don't mind that. This is a perfectly reasonable hand of Magic the Gathering cards that I don't know is actually fast enough. Like, discard rips this one apart, as does a single counterspell. I'm going to try 6. I'm going to try 5. Well, this ain't great. I get rid of Through the Breach and 1 mana source here. This is a very underwhelming hand that I'm not happy about. I think this is better than the, like, too slow turn 2 Palantir hand with no immediate combo potential. Like, I'm not immediately facing the worst possible thing of just grief, reanimate, grief. Oh. Yeah, so like that first hand is dead to this grief, just serving as time walks. Ooh. Don't mind if I do. Days. Pay. That's still a good trade for my opponent, because like mana is probably going to be a bottleneck for me. See if they can reanimate the grief. No reanimate grief. Nice. Hopefully I just rip a land next turn and can put the sneak attack into play, and then my opponent has to live in fear forever, unless they have Hydroblast. There's Brainstorm. Reanimate for grief or a Thoughtseize effect is incredibly good right now. Fetch to clear. Alright, we're doing a little self-damage for Death Shadow. And I am going to stick this right now. Like, my opponent can just, like, Hydroblast it or bounce it or whatever. Yeah, that's fine. But I think I just need to resolve this while I have the opportunity to resolve it. 15. All right, that's not great. I'm just going to play that out. Like, it baits a Thoughtseize if I leave it in hand, but my opponent's already at 15, which is the magic Emrakul number. And I might need this 5th mana to either play around a Daze or do a Through the Breach line. Sure. Palentir's great right now. My opponent can do a line that counters this. Sure. I am fine with that 2-for-1 trade. There is a Reanimate and a Death Shadow. That's a lot of power. That's a whole lot of power. That is nearly lethal. I get to resolve a Fable, which buys me 4-ish life and gives me some looting next turn to find an Atraxa or Emrakul to try to actually win this game. There are some lines that lead to me being dead this turn. Like, snuff out, like, sort of lines can be very awkward here. Yeah, so I just have to chump block or I am dead. Taking 14 as is. And this is fully just, do I hit an Emrakul? I will not use that ability. Activate Sneak Attack. Put in Emrakul. And we'll take our W here. Good stuff. So, when I'm on the draw, do I want the additional 2 fairies over something like Trinisphere? Probably. Stopping the reanimation card is also stopping a change in life totals, which is definitely relevant. No red mana here. A single red mana in this hand is insane. Let's try to find something more stable. Well, this counts. It's definitely awkward. I think I'm going to throw back City. I think everything else kind of has a purpose. All right, here's the initial fetch, which I assume will be a Shockland. And a Thoughtseize. That's fine. The best card in my hand, in my estimation, is the Palentir. My opponent agrees. I've got a Mountain. That's fine. I'm going to show my opponent that, despite the fact that that's slightly awkward. And hopefully next turn we resolve Sneak Attack. I get to jam Sneak Attack 2 turns in a row. Hopefully resolving one of them. Ooh. We doing that instead? The looting's not bad, because my Seething Song isn't particularly good right now. Sure. This is my distraction. And it's evaluated, I think, properly by my opponent. Pitched Daze. Pitched Force of Negation. Cycle. Finding Watery Grave. So they are working towards a Death Shadow here. Ooh, that's damn good. Sure. My situation's bad, but very recoverable, in my opinion. Are we going Spirit Guide, Seething Song, Sneak Attack without something to put in? I don't think so. Alright, opponent's just doing some cantripping over there. Another shock. The Thoughtseize is acceptable. We'll see if I lose a Spirit Guide or a Sneak Attack. They're going for the mana. And playing a small-ish Death Shadow. With 1 card left over there, I think I just jam. If that 1 card is Daze, this sucks. And if it's any other card, it's fine. I have no regrets. Sure. Note that with a Soul Land, I just get to immediately try again. Sure. That's horrifying. Soul Land? No, like Soul Land doesn't get me there, right? Like I just take 12. That was brutal. Let's see if this next card down would have been a creature. No. I would have needed 2 more turns. I don't know that I would have gotten that, even if the Sneak Attack did resolve. So this is the final round now. This hand can produce a Fury on turn 1. I don't think that's what we're trying to do. This hand is a keeper. So it's turn 1. Defense grid, probably. Maybe turn 1 Fable. And then we try to loot through some of this other stuff. I think I get rid of the secondary Ancient Tomb. Are you a fair or unfair swamp? I am currently planning on turn 1 Fable over Defense Grid, based on what I'm seeing here. We're probably playing against like the mono black scam aggro deck list. Could be blue black though. That was just a naturally played swamp rather than a fetched one, so just talking out loud. I lost Spirit Guide there. Sure. They're just going to go for the Oliphant now and just try to keep me off of red mana? I don't know how... Wow. Sure. That is a very all-in play. I think I don't play Defense Grid anymore. Like, it looks like my opponent is mono black, so I think my Defense Grid just doesn't do a lot. I'm just going to hold that to potentially loop through with Fable of the Mirrorbreaker. I also just don't want to tap Ancient Tomb more times than I have to here, because my opponent is relatively all in on a 3-2. I don't think I need to play City of Traders here. Okay, they are blue. They are bug of some nature, which means the Defense Grid is now something that I do want to play, despite it changing the clock, right? 3, 6, 9, 12, 15. This is presumably worth it. Bowmasters, sure. That creature is scarier than something like Defense Grid actually getting countered. I just don't think I beat it. And Uro, okay. We are on a bug mid-range deck that just had the absolute nuts in terms of reanimation. I think I'm on no outs. Because if I tap this Ancient Tomb, I'm dead to what's on board. An opponent doesn't die to a Palentir trigger on Emrakul, so I shouldn't show them that, and they'll make me draw anyway. Yuck. Okay. Wish I had Leyline rather than Fairy for this matchup. These Oliphants are really awkward with so much Reanimate running around. I'm not sure how I want to board, because cards like Fury don't line up well versus Uro, but are kind of important to stop an early grief. My opponent like griefs me, puts Atraxa, reanimates grief into play. That's like really bad news. But playing cards like Fairy against a deck that can easily shift into a control role is also rough. I think I'm gonna ignore the creature removal and try to be a combo deck here. Sub an Oliphant for this. So I can turn 1 Defense Grid or turn 1 Fable. This is just fine. It's not better than fine. But I think it's worth playing. Alright. Play out the Petal and pass the turn. Again, though, if my opponent just like grief reanimates griefs me, then this Defense Grid did not do me any good. Or, you know, grief me, reanimate Atraxa. That's actually probably worse. This is great. This is what I want to see. That Ponder shuffles. Sneak attack would be hot. It is a grief now. I've lost the Fable. So we're just kind of living on the edge, hoping the top of the deck delivers, and the game is fully out of my control. I have no agency anymore. City. Probably don't even play that. I'm gonna play a secondary Defense Grid, I think. I think that's worth the 2 life. That way some sort of a Assassin's Trophy, Abrupt Decay sort of card doesn't knock me off the Defense Grid. Sure. I don't like playing out the Polluted Delta prior to Brainstorm if Wasteland is in my opponent's deck. I think Wastelanding me right now is insane. It is another grief. Sure. I lose Atraxa. And I think I'm just instantly dead to a reanimate from my opponent at any point now. Alright. We're gonna, I think, just concede to that. Yeah, my opponent is going to get some goodies. Yeah, there is Wasteland. I'm going to need to Emrakul. I'm not going to fairly beat the persistent Atraxa. That's not what I need. And this is a very fast clock. Actually, am I really on outs anymore? So I get hit for 7. I get wastelanded. Yeah, I don't think I'm on outs anymore. No, I guess I could draw exactly sneak attack into Emrakul in that order and win at 2. Okay. There's the sneak attack. It resolves. It's double defense gridded. Double defense grid. I guess I could also draw Atraxa and then hit Emrakul since I do have a spirit guide here. So I guess I'm on 8 outs. I'm at 2. I have Assassin's Trophy. I'm dead if you do. Oh, just Witherbloom command to just directly do the remaining 2 points of damage to me for fun. The next card was not Emrakul. So I got my ass kicked this league. And I don't think this deck is all that bad, but I think this deck is terribly positioned. We have cyclers of our own without the ability to put them out of the graveyard, which means that we make opposing reanimates better. And they're already insanely good because our opponents can reanimate our Atraxas after they grief us. And to a lesser extent, if we use Fury as a removal spell, that's also true there. So like this portion of the deck is particularly bad versus grief reanimate scam stuff, which is a huge portion of the current format. And that portion of the format also contains Orcish Bowmasters, which makes the Palantirs particularly awkward. And if you are using discard as your primary axis of interaction, the defense grids aren't stopping the things that matter. So I conceptually think this deck is really cool, but it feels like with the metagame looking the way that it does, despite the power level being acceptable, if a little slow, the positioning of this deck was brutal. Like, we did the thing, we Palantir, we revealed Emrakul, we did, the sneak attack through the breach nonsense. Like, we checked the boxes of attempting to do what this deck wanted to do, and it just ended up not being good enough in some cases. And honestly, I think the only reason we put 1 win on the board today was because one of my opponents, the shardless opponent, did not mulligan enough. I felt like the speed of that deck was just faster than my deck, and I think I should have lost that one too. So I hope that was helpful information. Let me know down in the comments below kind of what you think about this, and if you end up needing to buy any paper Magic cards, check out Cool Stuff Inc. Use promo code ThrabenU to save 5% on your order, and I hope you all have a wonderful rest of the day. See ya!